Hey, welcome to a new video, which won't be about riding. It's from my workshop, and I was forced to make it by a two month communication with Trek regarding a crack in my frame. And this video is my opinion on the whole situation and its description. So let's get to it. So these are pieces of my original frame, which Trek replaced with a new one, with the understanding that what I claimed under warranty they labeled as an accident, an impact, and that it's not covered by warranty. And they gave me a new frame. On that, what it was about is here a broken one of the three tabs of the ISCG mounts, which holds this pulley, and there's a bash guard on it too. Well, I used that bash guard. That's on the bash guard. I'll rather take a shot on the GoPro. You can see it on there, and they explained to me that I simply broke it off by hitting the bash guard. What is that bash guard there for? If it actually causes like destruction of the frame, they couldn't answer me. However, they recommended not running a bash guard, that it's better to destroy a chainring for 30-40 euros than to damage the frame. I accepted that as a fact, that it's simply reasonable, and I dealt with it in my own way, as I already said. And that is, not only did I take that bash guard off, but I also cut off that mount for the bash guard. On the next frame, actually, the whole pulley or the whole mount didn't break off because I wasn't running the bash guard, but it is cracked. And that is the core of the dispute, or rather what I've been talking to Trek about for 2 months now. It's probably necessary to mention why I actually have 3 pulleys, what led to that. And the reason is that on the first frame, I repeatedly dealt with the chain dropping from this pulley. The chain dropped, it was completely loose, slapping the chainstay. Just God knows what could have happened. There wasn't a ride where I didn't have to put the chain back on. It was dealt with 3 times. Like once it was dealt with by raising this pulley to the frame, not to 32 millimeters, but to 20 millimeters. That didn't help. Simply, I dealt with it with the dealer repeatedly. The bike was with them, I don't know how many times, I don't know how many days. I have it in the paperwork somewhere. And it was solved by the fact that actually my son's old slash cracked under warranty, and he got the new frame, the one I have here, the slash Gen 6, and on it there was a pulley which had this little plate. The differences here aren't very big, but this plate is clearly visible. Yeah, here is a new pulley, brand new, just like. And coincidentally, even with that new frame, I personally received the frame with the old pulley, or rather with the one without that plate. So I transferred the plate to the new pulley, and the problem was solved. And because there was really a lot of talking, emailing, I wouldn't want to state it inaccurately. So I will quote from the email communication. It's not that I'm like attacking the Trek brand, but it's an example of how warranty claims can sometimes be handled, and about, well, make up your own mind. So, regarding the fact that I claimed a cracked mount, Mr. Corsho writes to me, "Hello, the replacement /AL Gen 6 frame with serial number," I'll only say the ending ending designation 07U was damaged by an impact similar to the original frame with serial number 10U, or in the case of the frame with serial number 7U or 07U, the impact was so strong that during the impact it tore the bumper, that is the bash guard, off the chain guide. That means Mr. Korsho is saying that what I cut off with an angle grinder, that 2mm profiled sheet metal, that I somehow while riding like sheared off, blew off along with the bash guard. That seemed very, how should I put it, just, well, that it's simply not physically possible for that to happen, especially when I know I cut it off with an angle grinder. He further writes, impact damage is mechanical damage which is not covered by warranty. The case is rejected, closed. We do not recommend riding on the frame or repairing it. It may not be safe when riding. To that, I wrote that answer. I filed the claim on April 21st. April 23rd was the answer from Trek. April 27th, I'm writing to the dealer to forward my response. Hello, I would like to react to the sent statement on the frame warranty claim. The stated shots, the stated conclusions, in my opinion, do not correspond to the actual course of events or basic technical principles. I removed the bash guard from the frame based on the recommendation of Trek Technical Support. Telephone consultation with Mr. Korsho on July 31st or August 1st, 2025. The goal was to prevent exactly the type of damage I had already dealt with in the past. First, I only disassembled the bash guard. However, from the photograph, it is obvious that the mount itself still reached low. Therefore, I removed the remaining parts as well, so that they could not come into contact with an obstacle. I used an angle grinder for the removal, and I naturally took the mount off the bike for this operation. The claim that the crack on the weld of the pulley mount was caused by an impact so strong that it allegedly tore off the entire bash guard is technically highly unlikely. The idea of an impact that would cleanly, straight, like basically shear a 2mm profiled steel sheet without simultaneously damaging both welds on which it is attached makes no sense from a mechanical standpoint. I am fully aware that impact damage is not subject to warranty. That is precisely why I took all measures to prevent this situation or a similar situation from repeating, even at the cost of losing protection for the chainring and chain. For the reasons stated above, I consider the justification for rejecting the claim to be insufficient and ask for its reconsideration based on a factual technical assessment. After I wrote to Mr. Korsho an explanation which, from my point of losing protection for the chainring and chain, for the reasons stated above, I consider the justification for rejecting the claim to be insufficient and ask for its reconsideration based on a factual technical assessment. After I wrote to Mr. Korsho an explanation which, from my point of view, refutes his claim, meaning the claim that I blew off so cleanly that mount or a piece of sheet metal along with the bash guard. Then a month-long conversation followed regarding sending photos of the guides, and the result of that is, again, like an assumption that replacing the pulley on that guide during the photo taking, because I replaced it, because it wasn't spinning anymore, so I replaced it because I simply had a new one, suggests that the pulley was damaged during the impact in which the ISCG adapter cracked, and replacing the pulley during the photo taking suggests an effort to cover up tracks. Honestly, I don't really understand this sentence. A replacement pulley, and this is important, he writes, is almost impossible to buy separately in Europe, and therefore he assumes that I had both guides with me, thanks to which I could take those photos, and which I supplied only during the warranty case. Mr. Korsho didn't know, or rather in their system it is, that I had another pulley. Well, I don't really understand it, but he's trying to use it against me, however, I used it. This pulley, I mounted it, I took a photo of it, I'm putting the photo in the video. I did that to demonstrate that even if I had only taken the bash guard off, there would still, and I also said, or will say during the video, still be a risk of simply coming into contact with an obstacle. So Mr. Korsho didn't know that. He accuses me here of covering up tracks, of the fact that he thinks that, or that he writes that it's not possible from his experience to buy the pulley separately. I believe him, but I had a new one from them even. In any case, he writes that the ISCG mount on the replacement slash frame with serial number 07U was damaged by an impact. That ISCG mount, impact damage, is not covered by warranty. There was no impact. You didn't give me any proof of that as Trek. You didn't write, here it is. Simply here you went, the impact came from this side. Nothing like that happened. So, first, Mr. Korsho claims that I hit it so hard that I tore off the bash guard along with a piece of sheet metal, which is simply the aluminium would have to withstand an enormous load there, which is, I assume, nonsense. And when I argue that to him, he subsequently makes up a new statement that simply I hit that mount, that it's damaged by an impact. So, make up your own mind. We'll continue. Well, what I was offered to be really objective, let's say, he offered me a 20% discount on a Fuel EX AL frame, so an aluminium Fuel EX. The Fuel EX is a bike that has a recommended fork, or is built on a 150 fork, if I remember correctly, and rear travel of 140. The Slash is a full-on, full-blooded enduro, which has 170 in the rear and 170 in the front. I don't understand why I was offered this frame. Yeah, and he still conditions it on me returning. Watch out, I forgot that. That's funny. So they will sell me a frame with a 20% discount, provided that I return both damaged frames and all 3 guides to them. Yeah. And so I actually would hand over all, let's say, evidence that simply the frame has some, and now I'll say my opinion, design flaw, so that, and I'll still pay for it. What followed next is that I actually created this document. I got an email to the United States, to Trek. They thanked me, forwarded it to someone else, and they forwarded it to Britain, to the headquarters that looks after our region, and they forwarded it to Mr. Korsho, apparently. He gave me his statement, and the last email was for the dealer to send both frames, all 3 guides, for assessment. That's the last I got from the last communication. And I'm thinking, if I send all this junk over there to them, will they, I have this expectation that they will send my frame back to me with the same statement, but I won't have these beautiful pieces of my frame here and those guides and so on. So you can write in the comments what you would advise me. You can write in the comments that I'm a useless user, for example, that I don't know how to use it. I'll be very glad, and I really will, if users of this bike, whether you had this bike and sold it, or still have it, or are planning to buy it, especially for those who have it, write me in the comments your experiences with chain drops, or in the case of this specific spot. My assumption is that Trek under-designed this spot. Here I'll take another detailed shot here with the GoPro. Here is this front tab has such an extra stamping. I don't know if it will be visible. I'll try to show it here. Here is roughly 4 millimeters, and here it transitions into such a stamping, and that's not on this one at all. Yeah, I assume that's a weakness that is structurally given, and when you add to that the the leverage that is created on that chain during actually that ride. That derailleur, that GX has a relatively strong clutch, or that spring in that cage. So my assumption is that actually this spot is under designed, and that action, that dynamic action on this spot, simply in all angles, different ones, so it simply fatigues it and it cracks depending on the intensity of riding. Another thing is that actually the mount, I'll put a photo there, is not mounted flush directly completely on that ISCG mount, but is on 7mm spacers. That means that this increases a bit more, let's say, the leverage on that spot. That is my assumption, and I'll be glad for your opinions. So if you watched all the way here, thank you for your attention, and hopefully we'll see each other in some bike video, a bit more normal, about some fun, so that it's not such a like, let's say, such a situation which I don't wish on anyone, and try to learn from my situation. Thanks. Bye.